I still remember the taste of the coffee that morning. Bitter. Like the truth I was about to swallow. It was a Saturday. Quiet. Too quiet. The kind of silence that feels unnatural, like the world's holding its breath before it drops a bomb. Her name was Natalie. We'd been together for 5 years. Lived together for 2. She was the kind of woman who could walk into a room and make every man forget his own name. Smart. Stunning. Addictive. I thought she was mine. I thought wrong. It started with a sock. A single, white ankle sock. Not mine. I don't wear white socks. I never have. It was lying behind the couch when I dropped my phone and had to move the damn thing to get it. At first, I laughed. Figured maybe it was left by a friend. Maybe her brother had visited. Maybe anything. Anything but what my gut was already screaming. But then came the second clue. A text. It flashed on her phone while she was in the shower. Can't stop thinking about last night. You taste better than I imagined. My chest went cold. My hands started shaking. I wanted to vomit. I didn't open the message. I didn't need to. Natalie had a password on her phone. Always had. Said it was for work stuff. Said she trusted me, just didn't trust hackers. Bullshit. I sat on the edge of the bed listening to the water running. My mind racing. My heart breaking with every second. When she walked out wrapped in a towel, hair dripping, she looked like nothing had happened. Like she wasn't living a double life. Morning, babe, she said, smiling like she hadn't just torn my world apart. I kissed her forehead. I said nothing. Not yet. I needed proof. So I started watching. Quietly. Carefully. And what I found over the next few days destroyed me. I started small. Questions without weight. Casual glances at her schedule. I checked her location sharing, something we'd both had on since we started living together. But hers had suddenly gone offline. Said her phone was not reachable. Odd, considering her Instagram stories were going up in real time. Spa days. Coffee dates. Gym selfies. But none of them matched the time she claimed to be working late. I didn't accuse her. Not yet. I pretended everything was normal. I kissed her like I always did. Told her I loved her every night. I studied her, memorizing her lies, her tells, her expressions. I was tired, the meeting ran late, they sounded more like rehearsed lines than genuine explanations. So I dug deeper. One night while she was asleep, I did the one thing I never thought I'd do. I unlocked her laptop. She used the same password for everything, her mother's birthday. I had watched her type it in 100 times. And there it was. A hidden folder on her desktop labeled Work Docs. I opened it and found a series of photos, not work documents. Photos of her at restaurants I'd never been to. Wearing dresses I'd never seen. Sitting across from someone whose face was always just out of frame. In one of them, there was a wine glass in the foreground, a man's hand gripping the stem. Expensive watch. Different from mine. In another, she was smiling, glowing across a candlelit table, leaning in, lips slightly parted. Then came the email receipts. Hotel reservations. Ride shares. Gift orders. All under an alias, a Gmail she never mentioned. She'd been booking rooms at the Delano downtown. Twice a month. Always on Wednesdays. And the worst part? She'd been using my credit card. The rage that burned through me was quiet, contained, the kind that sits heavy in your chest and poisons your thoughts. I sat there in the dark, laptop glowing, her soft breathing behind me, and I felt like I was drowning. My hands were trembling. My jaw clenched so hard it ached. I couldn't sleep. Couldn't eat. Couldn't even look at her without seeing that email thread, that smug confirmation from the front desk. Your suite is ready, Ms. Hayward. We hope you enjoy your stay. The lies weren't random. They were calculated. Repeated. Perfected. And they weren't just physical. There was intimacy there. Inside jokes. Nicknames. Playlists they shared. She didn't just cheat on me. She built a whole life without me. The worst part of betrayal isn't the act itself. It's the silence that follows. It's lying beside the person who's already left you in every way except physically. It's pretending you don't notice how they flinch when you touch them now. How their kisses feel rehearsed. How their phone is always face down. Always locked. Always out of reach. I became obsessed. I wasn't just a man in pain, I was a detective, a prisoner, a ghost in my own home. Every detail became evidence. Every laugh she gave that wasn't meant for me echoed like a scream. I checked her car's odometer. I tracked her steps. I memorized the way she typed on her phone and counted the number of times she deleted her browser history. And then I did something I thought I'd never do. I followed her. She said she had a late yoga class. She left in her usual workout gear, hair in a messy bun, no makeup. She kissed my cheek like nothing was wrong, like we weren't living a lie. I waited 5 minutes, grabbed my keys, and tailed her from a distance. But she didn't go to the studio. She drove straight to the Delano. I parked across the street and sat there, engine off, heart pounding. I watched as she stepped out of the car, adjusted her ponytail, and checked her reflection in the mirror. Then, without hesitation, she walked into the hotel. I waited. 10 minutes. 20. 30. My stomach twisted, my palms soaked with sweat. I couldn't do it. I couldn't go in. I couldn't face it, not yet. But I didn't need to because a few minutes later I saw him. Tall. Sharp suit. Confident. Too confident. He walked in with a kind of ease that made my blood boil. He didn't even look around. He knew where he was going. Straight to her. The image burned into my brain. My girlfriend, no, my partner of 5 years, wrapped in the arms of a man I'd never seen, but somehow hated more than anyone I'd ever known. I drove home in silence, fists clenched the whole way. No radio. No thoughts. Just a suffocating kind of clarity. She wasn't just cheating. She had moved on. She had replaced me. And I was still sitting in our shared apartment, cooking her dinner, folding her laundry, loving her like a fool. But that night, something inside me broke. Not in the fragile way, not the kind of break that makes you weep. It was cleaner. Sharper. Like glass cracking under pressure. I knew what I had to do. I just didn't know how much more I'd have to see before I finally acted. The next morning was almost too normal. She walked into the kitchen, humming softly, her hair still damp from a shower. She wore one of my old t-shirts, the one with the faded college logo, the same one she used to steal when we first started dating, back when she said it smelled like home. Now it just smelled like irony. She smiled at me like nothing had happened. Poured herself coffee, asked if I wanted eggs, then kissed me on the temple like we were still us. I nodded, said I had an early meeting, and left. I couldn't stomach the charade. I sat in my car for nearly an hour, engine idling, hands gripping the steering wheel so tight they hurt. I didn't go to work. I didn't go anywhere. I just sat there, staring at nothing, trying to understand how someone could be so effortlessly cruel. How do you love someone every day and then climb into bed with someone else at night? How do you lie so smoothly, so completely that even your tone doesn't change? Later that night, while she was asleep, I copied every file from her laptop onto a flash drive, every photo, every email, every reservation confirmation, every message thread with him. I didn't know what I'd do with it, but I needed it. I needed proof, not for anyone else, but for me. Because some part of me still wanted to believe I was wrong. That maybe, somehow, this was all a mistake, a misunderstanding, a paranoid spiral. But the evidence screamed otherwise. It screamed betrayal. Over and over and over. The next day, I did the unthinkable. I reached out to the hotel. I pretended to be her assistant. I gave them her name and asked for her upcoming reservation details, said I needed them to coordinate her schedule. The concierge, polite and efficient, confirmed everything without hesitation. Same room. Same day. Same man, the same last name as the restaurant bookings, the flower deliveries, the Venmo receipts I found buried in her email trash folder. He wasn't just some random fling. He had a name. Darren Cole. And he wasn't just a lover. He was financing her new wardrobe, her gym membership, the spa trips she claimed were gift cards from work. She wasn't just cheating for passion. She was cheating for profit. My heart didn't break. It calcified. I realized this wasn't about me not being enough. It wasn't about lust or even love. It was about lifestyle. Natalie had traded loyalty for luxury. Integrity for indulgence. And me? I was just the fool footing the bill while she played princess with another man's money. That night, I watched her sleep. Her face soft, peaceful, innocent in the dim light. I wondered how many times she had laid there dreaming about him while I held her. How many mornings she woke up beside me and sent him a good morning text before I even opened my eyes. I wanted to shake her awake. I wanted to scream. To demand answers. But I didn't. Not yet. Because when I ended it, I wanted it to shatter. I started preparing my exit like a man planning a quiet escape from a burning building. Every move had to be calculated, silent, deliberate. I opened a separate bank account in a different institution. Transferred money slowly, not too much at once to avoid raising suspicion. I started collecting my important documents. My birth certificate, social security card, passport. Anything that could disappear if she ever decided to accidentally misplace them in a fit of guilt or panic. I wasn't just planning to leave her. I was preparing to erase the part of my life that belonged to her. But still, I smiled. Still played the role. Still laughed at her stories. Still kissed her goodnight. Still pretended I didn't know. Because I wanted her to feel safe. I wanted her to believe I was clueless, devoted, blind. I wanted her to keep slipping, to grow comfortable, to dig her hole even deeper. The deeper she went, the more power I had. And I needed that power because I wasn't just going to walk away. I was going to make sure she knew exactly what she'd destroyed. And then the moment came. Or rather, he did. I came home from work early one Thursday. My manager had sent us home after a server outage that killed half the day's productivity. I didn't warn Natalie. Didn't text, didn't call. Just walked in, quiet and tired, expecting an empty apartment. But the door wasn't locked. The first thing I noticed was the faint smell. Expensive cologne. Not mine. Next, the shoes. 2 pairs by the door. 1 set of heels, 1 pair of men's loafers. Brown leather, polished. Then the sound, low voices. Laughter. Coming from the bedroom. I didn't scream. Didn't burst in. I just stood there. I don't remember how long. Maybe 5 seconds. Maybe a full minute. Then I turned around and walked right back out. I went straight to my car, pulled out the flash drive, and copied the contents to a cloud backup. Then I made a second copy and mailed it to myself. I wanted insurance. I needed to know that if I ever lost control, if rage ever took over and my hands did what my mind was begging me not to, there'd be proof that I had reason. The next morning, she acted like nothing happened, said she had a migraine, asked me to bring her tea. I did. Chamomile with honey the way she liked it. And as she sipped it, wrapped in a robe, eyes soft with false gratitude, I asked her one question. Did you have a good time yesterday? She blinked, smiled weakly. What do you mean? I tilted my head. With Darren. Her face paled. Just like that, all color vanished. The cup in her hand trembled slightly. She tried to laugh it off, but her voice cracked. I don't know who. Don't lie to me. 3 words. Cold. Measured. Absolute. And for the first time since this all began, she knew. I wasn't pretending anymore. Silence stretched between us like a drawn wire. Taut, dangerous, ready to snap. Her lips parted as if to speak, but nothing came out. Just shallow, nervous breaths. She looked at me like a deer in the headlights, and for a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. But then I remembered the hotel confirmations. The photos. The lies. The man's voice I heard through the bedroom wall. And the pity vanished, replaced by something sharper. Cleaner. Pure rage. Distilled into perfect calm. I know everything, I said quietly, sliding the flash drive across the kitchen counter like it was evidence in a courtroom. Every text. Every hotel visit. Every dollar you spent that wasn't yours. I know about the watch he bought you. The gym membership he's been paying for. The flowers you told me were from a client. I know Natalie. All of it. She didn't reach for the flash drive. She just stared at it like it might explode. Her eyes glistened, but no tears fell. Not yet. I think she was still calculating. Still trying to find an angle. A way out. A story that might save her. That's the thing with manipulators, they don't break immediately. They stall until they figure out what version of the truth might hurt them the least. But I didn't give her the chance. I've already moved my money, I said. I've already spoken to a lawyer. And I've given a copy of everything on that drive to my brother. So if anything happens to me, or if you try to twist this around, he'll make sure everyone sees what you really are. Her expression changed then. No longer innocent. No longer surprised. Just tired. Exposed. Like the mask she wore had finally slipped for good. She sank into a chair without saying a word. Eyes downcast. Lips pressed together. For a moment, it was like we weren't even in the same world. Like the person I had loved for half a decade was just a character in a movie that had finally ended. I never meant to hurt you, she whispered, her voice small, broken. I laughed. Not because it was funny, nothing about it was funny, but because of how absurd it sounded. Like the kind of line you'd hear in a high school drama. Not from a grown woman who had spent months building a life behind my back. You didn't just hurt me, Natalie. You hollowed me out. You made me feel like I was crazy, like I was paranoid. You gaslit me while you were and someone else in my bed. Her shoulders jerked slightly at the word. Maybe that was the first moment she really understood the weight of what she'd done. Or maybe she just didn't like being spoken to without the filter of politeness I used to coat everything in. I loved you, I added. I really, truly loved you. I know, she said. And that was the worst part. She knew. After that conversation, the air in the apartment changed. Heavier. Thicker. Like every wall absorbed the poison and now exhaled it slowly, making it impossible to breathe without choking on the past. We lived under the same roof for another week, not because I couldn't leave, but because I needed her to feel it. I wanted her to sit in that silence, to taste the bitterness of every unspoken word, to understand what it meant to be tolerated by someone who used to adore her. I didn't scream. I didn't slam doors. I didn't cry. My revenge wasn't fire. It was ice. She walked around like a ghost, barely speaking. Every time she tried, I gave her nothing but indifference, not because I didn't care, but because I refused to give her the satisfaction of my pain. That's the part no one talks about in Betrayal, how much energy it takes to pretend you're okay when every part of you is fractured. But I did it. I matched her silence with my own. I ate dinner alone, slept on the couch, answered her questions with clipped words if I answered at all. And every day, I checked off one more box in my exit plan. The hardest part wasn't the lies. It wasn't even the cheating. It was mourning the version of her that never existed, the woman I built in my mind, the partner I believed I had. She had never really been her. The Natalie I loved was a mask, a projection, a fantasy. The real Natalie was cold, calculating, transactional. A woman who could look you in the eyes and say, "I love you," while texting hotel room numbers to another man. I remember the last morning before she left. She stood by the window, suitcase in hand, waiting for her Uber. She turned to me, eyes red-rimmed but dry. "Are you sure this is how you want it to end?" she asked. I looked at her. Truly looked at her. And for the first time in months, I didn't feel pain. Just clarity. Just peace. Just the end. "It ended a long time ago," I said. She didn't argue. Just nodded like she knew it was true. Then she left. No dramatic scene. No last plea. No apology worthy of the damage done. I stood at the window and watched her go. She didn't look back. Good. Neither did I. After she left, the silence wasn't suffocating anymore. It was a different kind of quiet, not the awkward, loaded kind filled with tension and unsaid things, but the peaceful quiet of absence. Like finally taking off a pair of shoes that had been rubbing your heels raw for years. The apartment felt empty, yes, but also real. Honest. There were no more lies in the walls. No more perfume lingering where it didn't belong. Just me, the echo of my own footsteps, and the slow rebuilding of a life I hadn't realized I'd lost until I'd been forced to burn it down. The first night alone, I didn't sleep much. Not because I missed her, I didn't, but because my body was still on high alert, still expecting to hear the soft chime of her phone lighting up at 2 a.m., still bracing for the lies she used to whisper when she thought I wasn't listening. But as the hours passed, something inside me softened. I realized I didn't have to listen for secrets anymore. I didn't have to wonder if she was where she said she was. The war was over. The battlefield was empty. And I had survived. Over the next few weeks, I began to reclaim the space. I threw away the candles she liked. Donated the throw pillows she bought without asking. Took down the framed photos of vacations that were nothing but posed illusions. I repainted the living room, a darker shade of blue, more masculine, something that didn't remind me of her. I replaced the bed. New sheets. New mattress. No more ghost of her body beside mine. I wasn't just moving on. I was erasing her. Friends started asking questions, of course. I kept it simple. "She cheated," I said. "It's over." Some pressed for details. Some offered sympathy. Others, the wiser ones, didn't pry. They just showed up with beer or pizza or silence, whatever I needed that day. And slowly, piece by piece, I began to feel like a person again. Not a victim. Not a shell. Just a man who had been through hell and was still standing. But here's the thing they don't tell you about healing: it doesn't come all at once. It's not a light switch. It's 1,000 little choices: to get out of bed, to eat something decent, to ignore the urge to text her just to see if she still exists. I made those choices. Every single day. Some days were harder than others. Some nights I drank too much. Some mornings I woke up angry. But the direction was always forward. Always away from her. And for the first time in years, I started to remember who I was before her. I began running again. Something I hadn't done in years. I'd forgotten how good it felt to just move, to push my body without thinking, without talking, without pretending. I'd throw on my old sneakers, put in headphones, and let the miles tear away the remnants of what she left behind. It became my ritual, sweat in place of sorrow, pavement instead of pity. With every stride, I wasn't running from what happened. I was running through it, processing every lie, every betrayal, every false promise she ever fed me like it was truth. Therapy helped too. I didn't want to go at first, thought it made me weak, like I should have been able to shake this off on my own. But sitting across from someone who didn't judge me, who didn't try to fix me, just listened, that did something. My therapist told me something I still think about. She didn't break you. She revealed you. She revealed your capacity to endure, to see clearly, to choose yourself when someone else tried to make you small. And damn, that hit. Because for so long, I'd been shrinking. Minimizing my needs, excusing her coldness, rationalizing her distance. I thought love meant staying. Holding on. Forgiving even the unforgivable. But real love doesn't ask you to set yourself on fire to keep someone else warm. Love doesn't hide in hotel rooms or behind locked screens. And love sure as hell doesn't make you feel invisible. One afternoon, months after she left, I ran into her by accident. Grocery store. She was alone, in workout clothes, hair pulled back in a tight ponytail. For a second, I almost didn't recognize her. Not because she looked different, but because I did. She smiled awkwardly, muttered my name, asked how I'd been. I told her the truth. I've never been better. And I meant it. She nodded, said something about how she was glad I was okay. I just looked at her. Not with anger. Not with resentment. But with something else, something quieter. Pity. Not because I still loved her. Not because I missed her. But because I finally saw her clearly. She wasn't powerful. She wasn't mysterious. She was just sad. And I was free. Looking back now, it's strange how something so devastating could become the very thing that saved me. Her betrayal didn't destroy me, it delivered me. It forced me to stop existing in someone else's shadow and start living on my own terms. I lost a woman I thought I couldn't live without, and in return, I found the man I was always meant to be. A man who doesn't beg to be chosen. A man who doesn't tolerate being half-loved. A man who knows that loyalty is only valuable when it's mutual. I've changed in ways I never expected. I trust less easily now, sure. I ask harder questions. I listen for the quiet things people say between their words. But I also laugh louder. Sleep better. Love myself more. And when the right person comes, not if, but when, I'll love again. But I'll do it differently. Not blindly. Not desperately. But fully, with the same honesty I wish I'd been given. Sometimes I still think about Natalie. Not often, not with longing, just as a reminder. A scar. Not every scar is ugly. Some are warnings. Others are proof of survival. Hers is both. And while I wouldn't go back, I wouldn't erase it either. Because that pain carved space inside me for something bigger than resentment. It made room for strength. To anyone reading this, maybe you're where I was. Maybe you just found the messages, smelled the cologne, noticed the shift. Maybe your heart is breaking in slow motion. I won't lie to you, it hurts like hell. It shatters everything. But it also clears everything. It strips away illusion. It shows you who you are when the person you trusted most becomes the one who cuts you deepest. Don't run from that moment. Stand in it. Feel every ounce of it. And then build something better from the rubble. Because you can. Because I did. And I swear to you, on the other side of betrayal, there's a version of you that's stronger, wiser, and freer than you've ever known.